The way that the United States behaves in the international arena is a direct mirror reflection of how they operate at home and their domestic politics. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a reminder that there is always a double standard for political aggression and political violence, both domestically and internationally. On the domestic front, the Charlie Kirk shooting showed that it's not political violence in general that's the problem. It's political violence against elites and people who move in elite circles. But violence done by or permitted to exist by the most powerful player in the field, which domestically is the state, is still political violence. ICE kidnapping people off the street and sending them to foreign prisons illegally without constitutionally protected due process is also political violence. When little kids are shot and killed at school, that is also political violence, which is why gun laws in the United States are a political issue. George Floyd's murder was also political violence, even though the political and economic elites didn't view it as so. And the long history of police brutality against people of color in the States is political violence. It's also political violence when protesters are tear gassed and shot at with less than lethals. The way that the United States operates in the international arena is identical. The global public has either watched or directly experienced how there is one set of rules for actions, reactions, labeling for the United States and its allies, and a completely different standard for everyone else. It's okay if the United States invades and occupies other countries. Violence is just and moral when the US and its allies do it. The US is allowed to interfere in elections and do regime change wherever and whenever it wants, but remember the news cycle when Russia interfered with the US election? By contrast, you don't hear too much about China constantly waging war or opening military bases on every corner of the earth, and that's because of their domestic politics. China cares about one thing and one thing only: China. Like, China is literally self-obsessed. They use all of their money and labor force at home on itself, building and making things to strengthen itself that way. Like, no joke, half the Chinese Communist Party leadership are engineers. And to my point, their domestic politics reflects onto Chinese foreign policy. For the most part, unless a conflict is directly on their doorstep, China's not interested. When Israel and Iran went to war with each other earlier this summer, a lot of people thought that China would come to Iran's defense, not only because they're so closely linked, but because a lot of international relations experts argue that Iran was just a stepping stone to a future war with China. But China basically just said, hey guys, stop this, and went back to their own shit. The really cool and brilliant way that China's domestic politics mirrors their foreign policy is through the new Silk Road, which is China spending trillions of dollars in over 150 countries across the world to basically build infrastructure projects like highways, ports, railways, digital networks to improve global trade with China. It's just so genius. Like, I'm a China stan. There's a lot of other less structural ways the domestic politics of a state can influence international politics. Like, the more relevant example right now is Benjamin Netanyahu needing the war in Gaza to go on forever to save his political career. Not only was he extremely unpopular in Israel before the war, and now he has serious corruption and bribery charges still pending against him that would definitely end his time in politics. This is only one way of looking at international relations. I'm not making an absolute argument at all. There are, of course, many reasons why states behave the way they do, but it is a very important lens through which to view the unraveling of the American empire abroad, which is happening by consequence of its domestic politics.